Listen to all the ways that Machen heard that he needed to accentuate the positive. These are quotes from him in one of his essays, but he's saying what liberals are saying about fighters like Machen. Let us above all have no controversy in the church. Let us forget our small theological differences and all repeat together Paul's hymn to Christian love. That was one. Another, our theological differences will disappear if we will just get down on our knees together in prayer. And another, instead of engaging in controversy in the church, we ought to pray for a revival. Instead of polemics, we ought to have evangelism. And yet another, instead of engaging in controversy about doctrine, we ought to seek the power of the living Holy Spirit. And one more, our preaching should be positive and not negative. We can preach the truth without attacking error. Now, Machen had a response, as you might imagine, and it was, in effect, what Bible are you reading? And Machen wrote this, if we follow that advice, we shall have to close our Bible and desert its teachings. The New Testament is a polemic book almost from beginning to end. One of the most eminent theological professors in the country said the real presence of Paul's teaching is found in the hymn to Christian love in the 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians. And we can avoid controversy today if we will only devote the chief attention to that inspiring hymn. In reply, I am bound to say that the example was singularly ill-chosen. Now notice, he didn't say it was ridiculous, the way that maybe Theobros today might say it. He said it was only ill-chosen. That hymn to Christian love, Machen goes on, is in the midst of a great polemic passage. It would never have been written if Paul had been opposed to controversy with error in the church. Every great Christian utterance, it may almost be said, is born in controversy. It is when men have felt compelled to take a stand against error that they have risen to the really great heights in the celebration of truth. Whether growing up in Baltimore, worshiping at a Baltimore church, attending a Baltimore university for both his BA and MA, and reading Baltimore newspapers was responsible for Machen's capacity to see the hollowness of calls to love, unity, and peace, to recognize that niceness is not a fruit of the Spirit, is certainly open to debate. But Machen's recognition of polemics in the Bible from Genesis to Revelation is not that far from Mencken's own assessments of Protestantism during the era. And what both saw was that the aspects of the Bible, many aspects of the Bible, do not fit with sentimentality. That sentimentality contradicted predictions of human flourishing, that ignored the obvious failings of human beings. That was a trait that both Mencken shared with Machen. Each man came down on opposite sides of Scripture's claims in ways comparable to the opposite sides of Baltimore's tracks on which they lived. But for a brief period, the American nation had to reckon with both agnostic and confessional Presbyterian calls to grow up and face the facts of both human folly and biblical truth. I'll stop there.